Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Diane's been working with buyers and sellers in the Missoula market for over 25 years. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. And good morning. We sure appreciate you making Missoula Real Estate Today a part of your weekend here on News Talk KGVO, the show presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Got a member of the Beck Team today. We have Sue Williams, Listing and Sales Coordinator with the Diane Beck Team at Windermere Real Estate, a first-timer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Good. And I did get on the website, looked at your background a little bit. You spent a number of years as a speech coach.
I did.
In Missoula at the high school level. What was that like?
It was great. I have a degree in speech and drama and a teaching certificate or teaching credential in speech and drama, so it was a good fit for me. But at the same time that I was doing that back in the early 90s, I was also starting to get into my real estate career, which was completely by accident. I don't know if you remember, you probably do, the Parks and Rec used to send out that flyer booklet every once in a while that told all of the adult classes that were available, and I was going to take something related to crafts. So I was looking through basket weaving. That would be fine. Crocheting. Hey, I want to crochet. And then I came across real estate, and it was taught by Sandra McCafferty. And I thought, oh, let's sign up for that and see if that's fun. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I've been doing it since 1991.
Well, what was it like being a speech coach? Is that something that
great.
A lot of kids want to participate in, or do you have to kind of nudge them a little bit? Or
I think you have to nudge them a little bit because it's certainly stepping outside of your comfort level.
That's where I was going, yeah.
That's what I started with. I was extremely shy, especially in junior high and high school. I was the kid that would get up in front of the room when we had to do current events, and I would hold up the paper that I had cut out, the little article, and you could hear it shake to the back. And so I started in speech because of that, to make me get up and say things and be a different person. And you have to do the same thing with kids today. It's really good training, even if you never think you're going to use anything having to do with speech. You will, because sometime or another, even if you go into business, you're going to have to get up maybe in a room of people and speak. And so the kids were fun. I love that age. It's a tremendous age. I thought about pursuing it further into college, but I really liked high schoolers. So, yeah, it was fun.
So you've been a licensed realtor for quite a while, but you're a little bit of a newer member of the Diane Beck Team. Mm-hmm. What led you to working with them at Windermere?
I had worked, I had known Diane for probably over 20 years, and at different parts during my career and her career, we had sort of intersected, and I had talked about possibly working for her, and the timing was just never right.
Yeah.
I was always just starting a job, or I was working for somewhere else, or my focus was someplace else, but this time it just worked out. She was looking for someone had left from her team, and I was kind of looking around to see what else was available, and it was just a good fit.
You are also a licensed realtor, but what all does a listing and sales coordinator do?
Just about anything Diane asked me to do. Because I'm licensed, I can show property, I can negotiate for her, I can sign listings, I can, not actually sign them, I can fill them out and get them signed. I can just be a go-between between her and her sellers and her buyers. Primarily, my focus is once it has been listed and we have an offer on it, then I take it over and I act as liaison between all of the parties involved, and I love that. It's always different. It's fun to meet people. I love helping people buy and sell houses. I'm primarily focused myself on listings. That's where my sort of comfort level is, but I will handle buyers too, and I just make sure all the things don't fall through the cracks.
Yeah, I want to...
There's a lot of moving pieces in a real estate contract, and we live and die by the contract because there are specific dates, and they're not like, oh, it'd be nice if you got it done by this date. It's not. It has to be done by that date. And so I'm pretty good at making sure that we stay on track and we get closed. And the most important part of staying on track is Diane has been in the business for such a long time, and she has come up with these great systems that help me help her do her job better.
Yeah, I want to get more in-depth into each of those facets of the job here in a couple of minutes. It is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest, Sue Williams, listing and sales coordinator for the Diane Beck team at Windermere Real Estate. And Sue, you've been at it now for a while. How have you seen it evolved? What are some of the ways that real estate transactions have kind of changed over the years?
When I started in 91, I started at Lambros, and I was an agent. And at that time, we had just bought a fax machine, and we weren't quite sure if we were going to use it very much.
Thermal paper?
Exactly, because, the title company had a fax machine.
Yeah.
And I remember going through training, going, okay, you have to put the document downside, and it was just silly when you think about it now.
Oh, yeah.
But we also had to drive things around. I mean, if I sold you a house, I had to drive to you. Then I had to drive to the person that had the house listed. Then I had to drive back to you. So there was just a lot more on the go. In fact, when I used to go to continuing ed is huge with real estate, and when I used to go to continuing ed, there were questions like, what happens if you have an accepted offer in your car and you have a car accident? What happens to the contract? Who is somebody going to come and? I mean, it was those kinds of things that you had to think about now. And now it's just so simple. It's instantaneous. It's really nice. I love email. I love text. I love the fact that we can handle so much more than we could before. It's evolved just ridiculously.
And if it was some kind of a document from a fax machine and you're in your car, you had to be careful to keep it out of the sun.
Or it would turn brown.
Of that thermal paper.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, at that time, you had to take that document and then copy it because it was not accepted.
Yeah.
They couldn't file that at the courthouse, for example, because in a couple of years, it would be gone.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, that jogs the memory. I remember back at the radio station I was at when we first got a fax machine. Boy, we thought we were pretty high tech. How about buyers themselves, Sue? What are buyers' biggest needs? Do you think during a transaction? Are there stressful moments where you really have to put your expertise to work?
I think the entire thing can be very, very stressful, and we work really hard to reduce as much stress as possible. We are huge on communication. You have to be, whether it be by phone call or text or even going and seeing them or having them come in. They just need to know that there's somebody on the other end of whatever digital thing they're using that is there for them and that will help them and that will walk them through everything. We make sure they know all of the dates that are involved, and they know that we're going to make sure that those dates are met. So that's huge. But yeah, it can be very nerve-wracking, especially if it's your first time buying or selling.
Yeah. Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Sue Williams, listing and sales coordinator for the Beck team at Windermere. And it does sound like a huge umbrella. You act as a liaison between other agents, inspectors. I assume maybe home inspectors, lenders, title representatives. Can I have you outline each of that a little bit? Let's start with your relationship with let's say other agents.
It's really important to have a good relationship with other agents. It's important that they see you not just as a competitor from another team, but someone who is willing to work with them and work together, because we're all in this together. And the days are long gone, for example, when you would have a job with one real estate company and that's it. You're going to stay there until you retire and they give you a gold watch and then you're done. You may be working alongside that person the next year, the next day. And so it's really important to establish relationships and care about the agent as much as you do your buyers and sellers, because they may be around a long time. And any time you can help that agent or they can help you, maybe give you a piece of information that you didn't know. This is the kind of business where you're always learning new things. And anytime you learn them, it's a good thing. And whether it comes from, your buyer, your seller, another agent on your team, another agent in another company, that's important knowledge. And it's good to establish relationships. And Diane's very good at that.
Moving on to home inspectors, we did have a home inspector. Craig Hartsey was on the show not terribly long ago. And one of the things that he brought up is the fact that the state of Montana finally came around. I think he said we're the 44th or 45th state to add more required certification qualifications. You can't just walk
No.
down the street. Hi, I'm Sue Williams. I'm a home inspector.
Exactly.
You got to have some state
Right.
certified certification, which I thought was terrific.
I do too.
But your relationship with home inspectors, I guess that probably adds to the mix a little bit.
It really does, and I do remember a time when, you could just say you're a home inspector and go out and inspect it, and then where's the liability?
Yeah.
If I don't have any qualifications and I inspect this room and tell you, hey, it looks fine, and then the next day you find out it's got something massively wrong with it, there's no recourse. And now all of that education is really, really important. And, it's good to establish a relationship. I have yet to meet a home inspector in Missoula who wasn't right at the top of his or her game, right, willing to do whatever they could, go the extra mile. Sometimes buyers especially will get the inspection after it's the inspection report, and they'll have questions about it. It's like, call the home inspector. He'll answer, and he will. And we really value that.
Yeah, and that circles back to your credibility, too. I mean, especially if, you don't say to a prospective client, hey, you have to hire such and such a home inspector or else we don't deal with you. It's not like that. You can make a recommendation, but you want to make sure that if they follow your recommendation, hey, this, what do you mean this didn't work out well?
Right.
So your credibility is at stake.
Well, and it's unethical for us to recommend just one home inspector. Yeah. We always have to give someone a choice, and we should, because everybody's not the right fit for everybody. So, we pride ourselves on connecting the right buyer with the right home inspector.
How about lenders? Where do you interact with lenders during the process?
If we're the buyer's agent, we interact with them quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We may introduce them. We may give them recommendations for several lenders. There are some terrific programs out there, and we can steer buyers toward a lender who has expertise in one of the areas that would be beneficial to them. On the seller side, we don't have nearly as much interaction. The buyer's agent is responsible for doing most of that. But I will say that when we get an offer and we learn who certain lenders are, I mean, if there's a certain lender on a buy-sell, it can be a huge sigh of relief. Oh, my goodness, we've worked with that person. We love that person. We know he or she is ethical and straightforward and will do what he said.
And maybe you can't steer customers that way,
Correct.
But as you say, it's internally you're happy.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah, I'm delighted.
And title companies.
Mm-hmm.
Not a real long process, but when it comes time for title, you do sit down with a title company, and it can be time consuming and pretty thorough and detailed. Where do you step in there?
I step in from the very beginning. As soon as we take a listing, I order a listing packet, which is just sort of a review, and they will send me the pertinent information. It includes taxes, the last warranty deed, just all of the things that we need to list it. And then when we do sell it, then we open up escrow at a title company, the one that we've used for the listing packet, and we work closely with them to answer any questions. We act as a liaison, or I act as a liaison between the buyer and the seller and the title company, distributing things, making sure they understand, making sure they know who to call if they have questions, and right on through the closing. So we really value our title members, and we get to know them quite well.
And, of course, you're a licensed realtor, too. Do you get to apply that trade on a fairly regular basis?
I do. Anyone who knows Diane knows that she is she has other things, other hats to wear besides just an agent at Windermere and Missoula. She is nationally known and statewide known. So when she's out of the office, I can show houses for her. I can interact with buyers and sellers, and it's pretty much seamless. And then I keep in constant contact with her, sort of being her legs. Yeah. And she continues to be the voice.
Yeah. Was it more job than you thought it was going to be when you
No.
you had a pretty good idea.
I had a pretty good idea. You know, Diane has a reputation for being thorough and tough and for really caring about the buyers and sellers that she represents, and I was really 100% behind that. Most of the people that I have worked for over the course of my career have been high-producing agents. Otherwise, they couldn't afford to hire a licensed assistant. But yeah, so I was ready for that and looking forward to it, and it's just been it's been great. Diana and I talked the other day about how we seem to be a good fit. I'm older than she is, but we have sort of the same work ethic. that we stay there until the job's done. And there's no such thing as like taking a break from it.
Right.
But if I didn't love it and she didn't love it, then we wouldn't have done it for this long. So there's that.
And it's good to be a utility gal,
It
isn't
is.
it? Yeah. Not just for how versatile and helpful you can be, but you don't get tied down, you don't get bogged down. That's one of the things I've always appreciated in my job is that I get to do things like this. I get to interview guests.
Yeah.
I get to write and produce commercials. I get to be on the air. I get to do sales and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, good to be a utility person. Sue Williams, listing and sales coordinator for the Diane Beck team at Windermere Real Estate, our guest on Missoula Real Estate today. And Sue, what are we're not going to go into numbers and all of that today, but what are some of your general thoughts on the current housing market in Missoula and surrounding area? Price is pretty high, inventory kind of low. Is it a healthy, vibrant market from your point of view?
It really is. There is a shortage, as everyone knows, of houses within a certain price range, what we would consider affordable housing or first-time houses. But Missoula has been that way for quite a while. Sure. It's always sort of been top-heavy. So it's our job to make sure that when one does come on the market for someone, we get them right in there. And we make sure that they're pre-approved, that they're working with a good lender, and then we make the strongest offer possible. And that helps an awful lot.
You mentioned first-time home buyers. Is anything holding back younger home buyers? I mean, besides price, possibly, but let's set that aside for now. Beyond that, is there a different mentality as far as committing to a long-term investment like a house?
I think there is. I think there are a lot of younger home buyers who don't know whether or not they want to buy a house at this point. And even those that do think that, hey, I might be nice. I'm tired of people being so noisy in my thin as paper walls in my apartment, and maybe I should buy something, but they don't know if they can afford it. The time has passed when you had to have 20% down. That's a goal that a lot of us can't come up with. Just, in spite of the fact that we may be older, for the first-timers, it's very difficult. But fortunately, Missoula does have a number of extremely good loan programs. Yeah. And my best advice is if you are thinking that you might want to buy a house, no matter what age you are, within the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, go to a lender, sit down and talk to them. It's a little difficult for some people to get past the fact that, we grow up thinking you don't tell anybody what you make. You don't tell anyone what your bills are. And when you go and sit in front of a lender, it almost feels sometimes as though you're pretty much stripping naked, and they're going to see everything, but they will also be non-judgmental to start with. Yes, we know you spent way too much money last year, but they will give you a plan for how you can meet that goal. They'll show you some things that you can do to increase your credit score, which is always good, and get you a better credit or a better interest rate. And they will show you programs that you might be able to use. So my best advice, go talk to somebody. It's absolutely free, and you're under no obligation.
And you brought up an excellent point, too, about especially in this age of instant gratification. Age of instant gratification and a seller's market. Let's say you're a younger first-time home buyer, and you may not, you found a home you really, really want, but you may not be quite ready. That home's probably not going to be there in another month or two in a lot of cases. But at least if you follow the template that you laid out a couple minutes ago, well, go talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. Get ready.
Absolutely.
Get ready for the next time. Whether right. and you use kind of a 1 to 5 year plan. Well, that does sound like kind of way out there. 5 years, I don't know, but at least you've laid the groundwork, which right. I would think would pay dividends the next time around.
And you're right. And next time when the house does come up, then maybe you're willing to do that. Maybe you have looked at enough houses that you feel confident stepping out and making an offer on it, which is a scary thing. To think that you're signing a paper that says you're responsible for this house for 30 years, that can be very daunting. People don't know what they're going to do 30 minutes from now in some instances. So it can be very scary, but it's not scary. You just have to suck it up and find out.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. And our guest is Sue Williams. Sue is a listing and sales coordinator with the Diane Beck team at Windermere. Also want to thank some of Diane's marketing partners that help bring you Missoula Real Estate Today every weekend on KGVO. Rob Fleming with Mann Mortgage, Miles Link of Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. What have you found to be some of the bigger challenges so far, Sue, in your position as listing and sales coordinator?
Just keeping all the balls in the air. You know, you become a bit of a juggler, but you have to. I have a great assistant, and I actually have 1.5 assistants, and could not do it without them. There's just so many nuts and bolts that they take care of that I don't have time for, and they're just you depend on them to keep me honest. And like I said, the systems that she has and the checklist that Diane has in place are completely beneficial. If you tend to do things, I have found, if you do certain things in a certain order, like when you get up in the morning, you don't suddenly put on your clothes and then go take a shower. That's silly. Well, it's the same way in real estate. You do certain things in a certain order, and if you check them off, then you can go back and see, hey, I forgot to do this, and you do it. So that's huge, just making sure that you're not dropping any balls.
And in the interest of equal time, what have you found to be some of the more satisfying parts of the job so far?
You know, I hate to sound sappy and say I love just about but I do. I really love doing real estate. I love helping people. The back end of it, which is why I'm not an agent anymore, the back end of it especially appeals to me. The knowing that I've helped somebody get together with this lender, just making the whole thing mesh. That's very satisfying for me, and I absolutely love it when I get to go to the closings and I get to see the happy people on the other side, whether it's a seller that needed to move on or a buyer that is, their first or their 91st home. It's just so rewarding to be able to see that you've helped somebody do that. And like I said, I know that sounds sappy, but, don't stay in this job if you don't love it. Same with yours. Don't stay in your job if you don't love it.
And I asked you earlier in the show to kind of the umbrella that you're under, kind of cover some of those things that you do as a liaison with other agents, inspectors, lenders, title companies. But what about the buyers themselves? Are there a lot of or any real common questions? I mean, when you're sitting down and working with a buyer, you know they are going to ask this, and this.
They will. And one of the most frequent things we get as a buyer's agent is, how much should I offer? What should I offer? And that can be tricky.
Sure.
If you're in a certain price point that's fairly high, maybe you can take some time to think about it and maybe offer a little less. But if the house is well priced and within a certain price range, in a good location, updated, you may not have the luxury of making a low offer and thinking that you're entering into some kind of negotiation. That might be one of the things that I find most difficult to convince buyers of, that you're really not necessarily entering into a negotiation. If you own a house and I offer you a bit of money, you don't have to respond to me at all. If you come back and say, I don't want that much, but I'll take this much, I don't have to respond to you at all. So it's not like you've entered into some protected area. And people get really disappointed when they make a low offer, and then they either choose not to respond as a seller or they respond close to what their listing price was. It can be very disappointing for buyers.
And I suppose that some of that stems from the perception that it's part of the game, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, this house is listed for $300,000.
Yes.
Well, there's no way that they can possibly expect to get $300,000. That's just a number. So therefore, therefore, it's my job to offer less than that amount. I imagine that's a typical perception in the negotiation process, especially when you're talking about such a huge investment as buying.
Yeah, it really is. We hear this a lot, that, well, I'd like to start here.
Yeah.
And then they go down from there. Yeah. So it's difficult. But Diane's very, very good at throwing numbers at them, let them know exactly what's going on in the market and why they should do this or should do that. Her best. Of course, it's always the decision is the seller and the buyer. But Diane can give her best recommendation based on years of experience. This is what I've seen. That's the nice thing about having been in the business so long. We've seen the ups and downs of markets. It never stays the same. It does. It can be a seller's market. It can be
Sure.
a buyer's market. It can be a normal market.
Yep.
And what you do as far as your buyers and sellers depends maybe on what kind of market you have.
You have I think you briefly mentioned the training process, but you have a very thorough knowledge of real estate practices and procedures in your capacity. Does that change a lot from year to year, month to month, day to day? I don't know. How do you keep up?
We have to take continuing ed. It's mandated.
Yeah.
You can't just get a license and sit on it and then expect to. So many things change. The contract changes. It goes from a one-page, used to be a legal size one-page, press hard, it's for, copies kind of thing.
Sure.
NCR paper, and now it's multiple pages. And you have to know, as a real estate agent, what every line in that means. There can't be a clause in the back that you don't know. Oh, my goodness, I wasn't aware of that. That's your job to be aware of that, and that's why buyers and sellers are trusting you. I would hesitate to say that anyone really reads the buy-sell all the way through or the listing agreement all the way through. So they trust us to interpret that for them, and we are happy to do that. But it's like I said, it's always changing. They're always making improvements, taking things out, putting things in. You absolutely have to keep up with the trends and the MLS and what's going on in the realtor area.
So it's not just change for change's sake then. You find pretty beneficial when you have to go through those training sessions to stay certified.
Right.
You find that pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever taken a class where I haven't learned something.
Yeah.
No matter how many years you've been in it, you learn something. It's like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So, it's even if it's just a class on mold. I'm always horrified by classes like that because then you realize, as you and I were talking earlier, there's mold all around us. And it can be horrifying if you haven't seen it or realize what the impact is on the house.
Sue Williams, Listing and Sales Coordinator for Diane Beck's team at Windermere Real Estate, our guest on Missoula Real Estate today, presented by Diane Beck. And Sue, gosh, we're down to the last few minutes here, but I wanted to ask you about any success stories you might want to talk about, any recent transaction that you were involved with that you found especially rewarding?
We seem to have done quite a few listings this year and sales that have to do, unfortunately, with parents who have passed away. And now the children who may or may not be in this area are saddled with getting rid of the clutter, trying to make sense of their parents' paperwork. And so we've done a few of those, and it's so rewarding because, yes, they have a lot to deal with the death of a parent or a spouse or anyone like that. But it's good, and it's so it's just so rewarding to think that we can take a little bit of that burden off them. Yeah. You go worry about that stuff. We'll take care of this for you. And that's really, really beneficial to everyone. And like I said, very rewarding.
Yeah. Missoula Real Estate today, Sue Williams with the Diane Beck team. And got to get contact information and all of that stuff in. If we want to talk more to Susan Williams and Windermere Real Estate and all of that, what do we do?
You can email me at susan.williams@windermere.com. You can text me at 406-529-2754. You can call the Windermere office, which I am sad to say I do not remember because it's in my phone.
Yeah.
Just a number of different ways. You can call Diane. We have a number of real estate websites that the information goes right to us. And, anyway, drop by the office.
Sure.
It's so funny. At one time, people came by the office quite a bit. I remember when I was first in real estate, and there was something called floor time, where you had about 4 hours, and you sat at a desk up at the front, and you waited for people to come in, and people came in.
Right.
Now that went away maybe, I don't know how long ago, but it's starting to come back a little bit.
No kidding.
People just pick up the phone and call, or will come into the office and say, hey, I was just passing by, saw your sign, thought I'd drop in and see. Yeah, it's really an interesting phenomenon that I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, that's a terrific way to wrap it up. You've been a wonderful guest. Thanks for coming on Missoula Real Estate today.
Well, you made it very painless, so thank you very much for your help.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. We hope you found this morning's information to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for any future Missoula Real Estate Today programs or any questions about buying or selling, contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. That's homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.